Hey folks, this is Ardwulf. Welcome. We're going to do something a little different video-wise today. We're going to do a quick replay of the Case White scenario from Axis Empire's Total Krieg. Those of you who have been following me on social media may know that I have a game of this, of the full game, set up for Buckeye Game Fest, which is in a couple of weeks. I've never played this before. I have read the rules. I've found that just reading the rules is not a good approach for me to take to learning a game. I find that I am best served by skimming the rules and then by starting to push pieces around and looking things up as I go. And then once I have gotten some play in, then I sit down and read the rules in full and actually grasp in a tactile way what those rules mean and imply. That's what I did with Case White here. This is a very fast scenario. It took me, even looking rules up, probably about an hour to play. It is less than 1/3 of a turn. You play only through most of the Axis player turn, which is itself pretty much one third of the turn. I don't think I am spoiling anything by telling you that this ended in a German victory, but there are some interesting things here that I've decided that I want to highlight. So what we see here is the initial setup with the German army not really even on the border and the Polish army deployed. The victory conditions are that by the end of their turn, the Germans need to control Posen, Warsaw, and Krakow. All three of those are cities, so they get a column shift in the favor of the defenders. Before we get to the moving and shooting, however, we place support markers, which in this case is a German Blitz marker and Air Force. The Poles do not have any support markers in this scenario. So here we see my initial placement of the Blitz and Air Force. I ended up backing this out because when I got to it, I actually found out how the Blitz and Air Force stuff works. The Air Force gives a column shift to the attacker as long as it is in or adjacent to the defending hex. What the Blitz marker does is that anything within 2 hexes of it is considered Blitz enabled and can therefore move and fight in the Blitz movement and Blitz combat phases, which basically gives you an entire extra movement and combat phase to operate in, which in this scenario you need. And actually I think it's a very cleverly arranged scenario in that you have to do this at least sort of right to really make the scenario work as the Germans. If you don't do it you don't do your operations in the right order, you don't take advantage of the Blitz and the Air Force, you probably are going to lose the scenario. And these are key concepts in Axis Empires, so it is important to teach that right up front, especially in a scenario that is otherwise really you're only using a very small percentage of the game. So I moved the Blitz marker out of the way here, but we now, and I just moved the Air Force marker, but we now see the German forces in motion. Now I did conduct 2 overruns with those 2 Panzer units that you see. There is no combat role associated with the overrun. However, you can only do it against only armor can do it, and they can only do it against certain units, and those units have to be 1 step. Furthermore, units in a hex negate enemy ZOC's effect on movement. So if you move your pieces in a specific way, you can negate enemy ZOC's for the purposes of moving your other units that you're going to move next. And then we conducted some combats. So this is the Blitz combat phase results. And as you can see, we've reduced the 2-step Polish unit in Krakow to 1 step. We have reduced the Polish unit in Warsaw to 1 step. And we have forced the Poles in Posen to retreat. They retreated south, which was their only valid retreat path, but that allowed the Germans to occupy 1 of their 3 victory hexes. So now we move on to the standard movement and combat phases. So as you can see right here, by doing things in the right order, we eliminated the Polish defenders in Warsaw and we forced the Polish defenders in Krakow to retreat 2 hexes. Instead of doing an advance after combat with armor, we can exploit. So we did that, and then we did our reserve movement phase, which is actually the end of this scenario. So once I edit this down, I'm hoping it'll be pretty fast, but quick closing thoughts, and I'm going to do the Barbarossa scenario next, which is the next in the learning sequence for the game. This game reminds me quite a bit in terms of the mechanics of movement and combat of Unconditional Surrender, with which it shares a designer, Salvatore Vasta. And that's a good thing because Unconditional Surrender is a very good game. So stay tuned. I might do one of these for Barbarossa. I don't know how well this will work. I don't know how well it'll be received. But stay tuned. If you are just tuning in, subscribe to the channel for more future updates. Thanks for watching.